through persuasion. Better get ready. Gonna see the light.
Welcome, everyone. Please take your seats. Welcome to a seminar on light medicine, the future of health technology. My name is Mike Wright, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of Blu Room technology to set the stage for those of you that this is your very first exposure to this technology. May we have the screen, please? And while the screen is lowering, just a reminder to please put your smart technology devices in airplane mode, silent mode, off mode, as the case may be. And those of you that are participating remotely on the stream or at some future venue where you're watching this, I would encourage you to turn your devices to silent mode or airplane mode as well, so that you're not interrupted by an outside environment from the past. Because these few short hours are all about the future, and we don't want the past intruding upon the future for reasons that you will learn from our beautiful speakers. The Blu Room was invented by J.Z. Knight. She has a patent in the United States and in Canada, and patents pending in 6 other countries. Our guest speakers are intimately involved in Blu Room technology these last many years, as they will tell you their stories. This is the entrance to a Blu Room here at the Shiva Blue Complex, where Jay-Z does much of her personal research. She has 3 Blu Room units, one of the original prototypes, and 2 of what she fondly calls the Italian Maserati versions. You can see in the central area of the octagon-shaped room is a couch or bed where the occupant reposes. And around that, the Blu Room technology creates an atmosphere. Users these last many years have reported a wide range of benefits in their healing journeys: relief of pain, more rapid healing, reduction of mental stress and physical stress. People that are using it for creative development, deeper focus, reaching the theta state, that lucid dreaming state that gives us access to subconscious mind and greater abilities. We have Blu Room services in the United States and 11 countries worldwide, 35 operational services around the world. There are 8 more units in construction right now. We're growing, delightfully so. And in the 4 years we've been in operation, over 120,000 user sessions. Imagine 120,000 people being lifted off by UFO technology and then brought back only 20 minutes later in linear time. And what sort of advanced upgrades could be done in another time, in another atmosphere, remote from our limited thinking mind that has to analyze everything. But the deeper mind has greater resources. For those of you that are interested in finding a Blu Room location, our locations are available at bluroom.com. Our first speaker today is Dr. Matthew Martinez. Matt is the co-developer of the Blu Room technology that Jay-Z invented, and he graciously provided space in his clinic in West Olympia at Absolute Health Center several years ago, said, I have a spare treatment room, build one over there, let's see what it does. And he'll tell you a little bit more of his adventures in a few moments. Dr. Martinez is a physician and chiropractor. In addition to his clinic here in West Olympia, he operates a clinic in Riobamba, Ecuador, called the Tree of Life Center, that is an integrative therapy clinic. Please welcome Dr. Matt Martinez.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi.
This is that ice cold Michelle fight for that white gold.
Thank
This
you.
one for them good girls, them good girls.
Thank you very much. Boy, it seems too long since I've been here. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you for everyone who's streaming worldwide. Oh, I'm honored. A little emotional. I'm just completely honored and overwhelmed with all of the work that we've done these past few years, the miracles that all of you have helped contribute to. So when I talk about Blu Room, I talk about us, this group, this school, Jay-Z, Ramtha. To me, it all comes together. And I wouldn't be here speaking if it wasn't for Ramtha and it wasn't for Jay-Z and it wasn't for all of you beautiful people. So a heartfelt thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Well, it's to you. So welcome to our light medicine discussion. I'm going to go over a few new things and some old things and some things that maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. But really, it's all going to come back to you. How is this going to help you? How is it going to help you in your daily lives? How is it going to help your family, your children, loved ones, and even people that you're going to run into? Maybe that's why we call them runners when we run into them. Perhaps. When I was approached by Jay-Z, we were having lunch, you've all heard this story, and she gave me the beautiful description of what the Blu Room was. And I remember having that battle in my mind of, oh my God, this is amazing. The other side going, oh my God, this is crazy. And the beautiful side won. It was the side that I wanted to be. It's the side I wanted to listen to. And yeah, we went ahead and started the project. We built the first one at Absolute Health Clinic in Olympia, and all of those beautiful miracles that came out of it, the emotional healing, the physical healing, even the relationship healings that came out of it. And who follows Facebook a little bit here? You've seen the couples going into the Blu Room together, those kind of things. Yeah, it's really amazing how there's so many facets of healing that the Blu Room is accommodating. And, you know, I go in with my children. I go into the Blu Room with my boys at least once a week. And why do I do that? Well, I can't be aware of everything that's going on with my children, and I want to be present. And what better way to be present with them is to take 20 minutes out of my day and to sit in this beautiful room with them and just be. Just hold them, give them some time, give them that frequency, and to share that healing frequency with them. So all of you who are listening, family, children, husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, friends, go together if you have a chance. If you want to improve a relationship, go together. Okay? It's a little tidbit to start off. So I'm going to speak first, and then Dr. Ann, we're going to have a break, and then Dr. Ann is going to go, and then Dr. Ann and I are going to do a Q&A together and hopefully answer most of the questions that we can. But I want you to learn today. So who has an open mind here? Good. Because we're going to present some beautiful things today. And I really want you to come at this with how can you apply what we're going to teach to your daily lives. Okay? Bargain? Bargain. Oh, let's begin. Oh, look at those two handsome people. Okay, so genes, not the kind that you wear, even though I like those. This is you. Gene expression can change based on what you eat, how you move, your thoughts, feelings, and social connections. This is Dr. Mark Hyman. Who's heard that before? Who's heard of what epigenetics are? I know, I love this group. You guys are so smart. You're right up there with the new and out with the old. I like it. So the Blu Room is such a unique, if you want to call it a medical instrument, great, you can. I just call it the Blu Room because it's its own. In fact, Mike and I were just talking today. It is its own consciousness. But this is for you. So your gene expression is, we know, based on how you are perceiving your environment and what you are putting into your body, and also how you are dealing with stress, and also how you're feeding your body. Let's see if I can get this just right. Okay, so yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues, Dr. Eric. Who's met Dr. Eric here in my office? A few of you. Great doc. I'm lucky to have Sharon and Tani here as well from my office. They are wonderful people. If you all have questions and I'm not available, please get Dr. Anna and get these three as well. They can really help you. But we're going to go into something that I think is really important that all of us need to really understand. What are nutrients? Who knows? I got a few hands. Okay. Nutrients are what you put into your body in order to get a chemical reaction that is going to elicit other chemical reactions in hopes that the outcome is health. And not just health, but optimal health. Okay? Who wants to be optimally healthy? Not just baseline healthy or sort of healthy. Who wants to be optimally healthy? I do. I absolutely do. So the question is, how do you go about becoming optimally healthy? I'm asking. Question. How do you go about being optimally healthy? Happy? Yeah? De-stress? Yes. Feed your body well? Yes. Sleep? Yes. Well, one of the ways is that you give your body those essential nutrients that it needs. Now, who here knows what are the essential nutrients? Now, I know, right? Why didn't we get taught this in school? I mean, who took algebra? Are you using it every day? Yes, I heard a couple of yeses. What about conjugating verbs? I don't know how to use that. But why didn't we learn, is there a pointer on here? Pointer? Yeah. Why didn't we learn what essential nutrients are? Why? I mean, that's kind of an important thing, correct? You know, here you are, you're born into this life. Here you go, kid. Here's a manual. This is how you're going to run this thing. Who's bought a car before? Comes with the manual, doesn't it? Right? Who's bought a, well, I'm going to date myself. I said a VCR. I was thinking of VCR. Okay. Who's bought a DVD player before? Comes with a manual, correct? Well, how come you didn't get a manual? Yeah. Well, I'm going to help you along with this. We're going to talk about essential nutrients for a moment. We're going to bring that into why light is important. Okay? So here we are. There are 90 essential nutrients, according to this study. And I know this is hard to read, but so I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of this. There are 90 essential nutrients that you need every single day in order for your body to run optimally. How many of you knew that? No. Some of you did, some of you didn't. Well, here it is. Write it down. There are 90 essential nutrients 90. So that seems like it's going to be a job, doesn't it? I've got to get 90 of these things in every single day to be healthy. Now, you have 60 minerals. So calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, we can go potassium, sodium, I mean, it goes on. If you want a copy of this, I will have these at my office. I will leave some here so you can have a copy of these. Okay, this is really important for everybody. Those of you, I will put this out on Facebook and online so you are able to have this available to you, okay? So there are 60 minerals, there are 16 vitamins, there are 12 amino acids, and there are 2 to 3 essential fatty acids that are required daily for you to have your body work properly. Now, if you don't do this, you are going to see a decline in health over time. This is just physics. This is just the laws. These are the laws of biology. This is what's going to happen to you. So I want us to think about something. Most of us don't, because we don't know. How many of us take vitamins here? Okay. How many of us have either 12 to 15 servings of vegetables a day? I know. I'm just asking the questions here. How many of us get at least a half of a gallon of water or 6 to 8 liters of water a day? I know, it sounds like a lot. How many of us get a minimum of 25 to 2,200 calories a day? I know. So, I know. But you weren't taught this. You weren't taught this. You were taught basically to have your 3 square meals a day. In my family, it's probably 5 because we like to eat. But most of the time, you get a starch, you get a protein, and maybe sometimes some vegetables thrown in there. So most of the time, on a daily basis, we do really well getting what we call amino acids or protein. And most of the time, we do pretty well getting these fatty acids in. There are good sources and there are bad sources. The good sources will be organic. Any way that you can go, you want to try to get organic foods. And the reason why is you're not going to have a lot of toxic chemicals associated with things that are non-organic. Who's heard of glyphosate? Yeah, glyphosate's a big one. It's an ingredient in Roundup, and it causes havoc in the body. It's what we call a chelator, so it will pull minerals out of your body. So if you're putting something in that's going to pull these out, you understand how you're going to be in a deficit even though you're trying? So those of us who are eating non-organic fruits and vegetables, even though you're trying to maintain health by eating fruits and vegetables, if they have any glyphosate toxicity, you are going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul. Does that make sense? So you're going to be putting things out in, but they're going to be robbed out by the chemicals that are latent in it. Okay? So the vitamins here, fruits and vegetables, some meats, some fats, some things like that will help you to get some of these vitamins and minerals in. But the thing is, most of us, we just don't know enough about nutrition in order for us to get these in. My point being, I want to teach you. I want you to master this skill. In order for this brain to work, you have to feed it. And you have to understand that the rest of the body has to be fed in order for your brain to work properly. Who here knows what the brain runs on? Sorry, what is it? Salt? Well, it does need some sodium. It does need some minerals. Fat. It's made up majority of fat. Glucose. Yeah, it does run on sugar. So if you are putting in what I call low-grade sugars into your diet, highly processed white sugar, over time, we've proven in science, you're going to run into a problem that's called insulin resistance. Who's heard of that? Right. You guys are so smart. I love this group. So insulin resistance is a true thing, and I'm going to get into more here, but I want to cover these bases. This is really important. Insulin resistance is a very common thing. We have an organ called the pancreas in the body, And that is the organ that is responsible not only for secreting insulin, but a few other things, digestive enzymes, glucagon, there's some other things that happen. And when we introduce very low quality sugars consistently into our diet, we tend to make that organ work really hard. But then again, we are not feeding the body what it needs this way. And so you have organ dysfunction, not only just in the pancreas, but in other organs, liver, kidneys, digestive system, because it doesn't have the food it needs to be healthy. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're getting the gist of this, how important it is to have all of the essential nutrients to be healthy, correct? Well, what are we missing here? What are we missing? What nutrient are we missing here? D? Well, minerals, oh, they're up there. We got the minerals. We got the vitamins. D's in there. Amino acids. I heard it. Light. 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 Light is an essential nutrient. Light, I want everyone to really get this. Light is an essential nutrient. Now, I'm going to explain why. I love this. Our entire biological system, the brain and the earth itself, work on the same frequencies. I love that quote. I actually have that poster hanging in my office. I really enjoy that. What does that mean? Our entire biological system, the brain and the earth itself, work on the same frequencies. Ramthas, I've heard him say this many times, that our body is made up of what? This planet, correct? So therefore, our body is governed by the same laws and the physics and the biology of this planet. So we're going to go to light. And we'll get into epigenetics. I want to talk about light for a moment. So this lecture today, Dr. and Anna are talking about light medicine and why I think the Blue Room has become such an important part of all of our lives, and it will continue to grow that way, is because we're now rediscovering and understanding how important light is on the effects of the physiological being, the emotional being, the spiritual being. And we are physical, spiritual, and mental. And those comprise of what we are. Now, who's had an emotional healing in the Blue Room? Fantastic. Who has had a physical healing in the Blue Room? Who has had a spiritual healing in the Blue Room? Okay, it works. Now, what other medicine can do that? RC, yes, that's cool. I would absolutely agree with you, yes. Yeah. And that's sort of what I'm going to come back to about light. About not only having light in your everyday healthy repertoire, but that you are light. Do you understand that? Who's felt dark before? Like just emotionally dark. You know, who's been down, who's been grumpy, who's been angry, you know, who's just felt dark? No, it's a real question here. If you have children, you know that they're going to call you out when you're grumpy or you're upset. I mean, they're pure. And what I love about being a father is they can snap you back to reality very quickly and to what's the most important thing around you. I mean, really quick. But we tend to live in a world where the obvious tends to be not looked at. Do you understand? It really is the truth. So for instance, I'm just going to throw out my opinion here. People get upset at me. You know me, I don't care. So we had a beautiful church in Paris burned down, and within 24 hours, they had more than enough money to rebuild it probably 5 or 6 times, correct? Okay, great, wonderful. Why can't we do that for starving children? Why can't we do that for people who need homes? Why can't we do that to put on a study of really what the effects of something as simple as not getting your daily essential nutrients? And the other question I have is, why can't we have a placebo study on vaccinations? Right? So the reality that's there is really not what is being represented. We know that. We know that. And I think that's why we find the school in our hearts go, truth. Thank you, God. Truth. So Dr. Nana, we're going to give you some truth. So we're going to talk about epigenetics. Epigenetics suggests that our behavior can influence which of our genes are turned on or off, and this has been one of the biggest breakthroughs in medicine. So what that basically means is that you have this beautiful, wonderful conglomerate of DNA that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, all kinds of beautiful mix of genetics that can either facilitate beautiful health or something else. And you can see that happen very simply in a teenager, for instance. I mean, this is a great story. I'm going to put my son out here to dry for a moment. But who's had a teenage boy and their voice changes, right? And they go through and they don't want to speak, and they're embarrassed. And it is a difficult time as a male because you don't know what's going to come out when you talk. I mean, you really don't. You're kind of just rolling the dice, hoping that you're not going to do that, but it probably will. And what's interesting to watch that is because how we're made to feel socially, we tend to close off a little bit, correct? I mean, all of us, females, males, we all go through this wonderful time in our life, I call it puberty, where you're blossoming into this beautiful adulthood. But you're what? You're scared. How many of us were a little nervous during that time? Right? I know. It's normal. So why is it looked at as such a horrible thing if everybody goes through it? So I want us to take that thought for a moment and understand that when you're going through something like that, a change, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or physical, you are influencing your genes. You are influencing what is going to be relatively healthy or unhealthy. But where is that really coming from? Right here. Right here. Now, who has broken out in hives before? And when does that normally happen? Stress. Now, why does that only happen during stress? I mean, I could go through the histamine, I could go through the immune system, I could give you all these physiological reasons, but what makes your body start to do that? What was that? Yeah, your mind is perceiving a situation, because you can be sitting there watching a movie and I've seen people break out in hives. Is the movie real? But their body's perceiving it. So therefore you get a physiological response. With that physiological response that you're perceiving, you now are having a physical reaction. That is basically epigenetics in a nutshell. Do you understand? So we're going to go here. Let's say you are deficient in nutrients first, and most of us are. That's just the reality. Let's say that you're perceiving your environment in a way that is not appealing to your body. And let's say that you really have some other things going on. Now, all of these things, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, they are all influencing your DNA in a moment, just like this, in how you are either healing or not healing. Do you understand? That's really what it means. I mean, very simply put. So this is what I love about the students, this beautiful student body we have in RSE. You guys get it. You get it. Now, that comes with responsibility, doesn't it? It comes with a great responsibility. Because you understand what you're doing to yourself in a moment. Now, what I'm going to say on the other side is be gracious with yourself. Self-correct. Get those nutrients in. Get in the blue room. Turn those genetics back on to the ones that you want to be healing, to be self-serving, and to go along with your focus. You understand? Okay. Pretty soon Dr. Anna is going to share some beautiful cases about some beautiful people, and she's going to be able to share. And what I'm going to give you are these little pieces that you're going to be able to go, okay, I'm able to piece this together in my own world so I can have a healthy body, I can have a healthy mind, and I know how to support that. Okay? Okay. So most people tend to attribute far too much power to their genes. I've seen thousands of patients who have blamed genetics for their ailments, their diseases, whatever is your lifestyle, your genes determines who, I'm reading this bad word, however it is your lifestyle, washing over your genes that determines who you are in any moment. What you eat, how you move, how you restore your system, along with your thoughts, feelings, and social connections, they really do regulate your genes. So for years, I would have patients come to me and say, Doc, it's my genetics, I'm going to be fat. Or Doc, it's my genetics, I'm going to have cancer. Or Doc, it's my genetics, I'm going to die of a heart attack. And they'd always tell me, my mom died, my grandma died this way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And right from the beginning of practice, I just knew that wasn't right. Even though, in school we learn genetics are genetics are genetics. But what happens to this question when you think about this? Let's say you have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child that's born, and by the time they reach adolescence, they're now dark hair and their eye color has changed. What do we call that? Explain it to me. Come on. I'm waiting. That is genetics. It's just genetics. So if a person, a being, you, me, you can be born with dark hair, blonde hair, a certain eye color, and by the time you reach a certain age, that's changed, which is pretty significant, wouldn't you say? Why would you want to believe that cancer is in your genetics? Why would you want to believe that? And where's the logic behind that? There isn't any logic behind it. Now, what I will say, you know what's really inherited? Is the way you look at your environment, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you perceive the world around you. That is inherited. That is. How many of us have had that struggle in our lifetime to shake off the things that we grew up with that we know isn't real, but we believed at one time to be real? Absolutely. Now, take that thinking and apply it towards your genetics, towards your healing. Got it. Okay, those genes end up creating the expression of who you are and how you are. You can turn on genes that create health or disease, weight gain or weight loss. Some genes can predispose you to obesity, type 2 diabetes, or heart disease, but predisposition is not predestined. It's true. 90% of our current health is controlled by the environment in which we bathe our genes. The food we eat, our exercise regimen, our resilience in the face of stress, our exposure to environmental toxins. And you don't have to sit back and accept that you are doomed to be fat and sick. No, no, no. Not at all. I'm going to give you guys a great story. When I was growing up, I was always a big kid. I was 100 pounds in the second grade. I think I was 5'2". I was huge. I mean, you should see the pictures. I look like I flunked 10 times. It's true. And my dad and my mother are very small people, and I'm sorry, that sounds funny. I think my dad's about 5'9", and my mom's 5'2". And so to have me they were just like, what is this kid? I mean, my God. You know, I raided the refrigerator at 1 o'clock in the morning. I would eat seconds and thirds and fifths if I could. You know, I was lifting up small people when I was little. You know, it's just the way I was. And I remember when I was 14, and my dad said, I want to see how much you weigh. And I'm like, okay, sure. So we get on the scale, and it said 201 pounds. And my dad just looks at me and goes, oh my God. He goes, I think this is a good weight for you. You know, I think you need to really think about not getting any heavier. You know, and at 14, I'm thinking, oh yeah, okay. You know, that's a great idea. And he said, the heaviest I've ever been is 185 pounds, right? So time starts going by, and I see weight coming on, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, I've just gained 5 pounds. I've gained 8 pounds. You know, here I am now, 220 pounds. And, you know, so I had this very interesting guilt almost about my weight. And it wasn't until I was about 18 and I was 260 pounds that I finally just said, you know what, there's nothing I can do about this. This is just who I am. I've got to stop worrying about this. And it was the first time at 18-year-old, so from 14 to 18, I was freaked out about how much I weighed. I had this self-consciousness about it. What do you think that was doing in my body? It wasn't my dad's fault. He had no idea. He was just worried that he'd never seen anybody this big in the family. He didn't know what to do. So what do you think that was doing? I think about it now. I probably stunted some of my growth. Truly. I probably did. And I know I definitely didn't eat as much as I wanted to. So we're talking about those essential vitamins and minerals and fats and proteins and things. I probably shorted myself some. Now, how many of us through those teenage years, we do that to ourselves, this image of what we think we needed to be? So how many young people out there do you think are way below where they should be for those essential nutrients? Now, where do you think those people are with light? Stuck inside school buildings all day. Kids today hardly go outside. They're stuck behind little screens. Now, who are parents here? Who are grandparents here? I'm going to lay some responsibility at your feet. I want you to educate these young people on how to take care of themselves. Because who else is going to do it? Now, here's the beautiful thing about what I see in teaching, is if I teach you and you and you, and I give you and you and you what information, truth I can, and you go out and tell one person, that's how you change the world. We know that, right? So if I give you this beautiful information, that there are 90 essential nutrients you need every day, and light, you're going to be able to relay that to somebody who desperately needs that help. And we go from being a very sick and tired and fat and diseased society to an optimally healthy and highly functional society that isn't going to take all of the crap that we've been handed to for the past however many thousands of years. Do you understand how that works? This is the Blue Room vision right there. This is really what the Blue Room is. It isn't just a room you walk into for 20 minutes and you sit there and you go, God, I feel great, thank you, I'm out. No. It's there to change people. It's there to change us. I mean, it's changed me in so many ways. I mean, I was completely different when the Blue Room first came into my life than the man I am now. And I'm proud to say that. I am proud to say that. because I feel for the first time in this existence, in this life, I'm living what's called a fulfilled life. I'm healthier than I've ever been, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically, but I'm also empowered. I'm empowered to fight for truth, which I want all of you to be. Okay, moving. Oh, you guys. I love you all too. Love you all too out there. So, who loves Albie? Albert. I love this gentleman. I think I read his self-proclaimed autobiography when I was in my teens, and I just love some of his quotes. He was a very different man, very cool. Anyways, the future of medicine will be medicine of frequencies. Huh, didn't Tesla say something like that too? I think they're onto something. Vitamin D binding protein. We're going to get into light therapy now. We're going to get into how important and why light is so important and why the Blu Room just fits right into there, and Jay-Z's genius and her this beautiful grandiose view. Hi Jay-Z, I love you. This amazing to me. When we were talking about the Blu Room, you know, I had, of course, like we all do, you have this picture of what it's going to be. I don't know why we do that, but we do that. And thank God, it's bigger, you know, so much bigger, so much grander, and in ways that I had no idea. And I know as we continue on down this road that there's going to be things that even become more evident, and that's the coolest thing for me. It's like, you know, Dr. Anna coming in and doing things in the Blu Room that I'm like, wow, that's so freaking cool. I didn't even know we could do that. And then, you know, having patients come to me and tell them their stories about things that I go, my God, this is opening my mind to even more possibilities. And all of these beautiful connections that we run into, the runners again, that just broaden this beautiful, this spectrum of possibilities. They're endless. They're absolutely endless. So why this is important, we have something our body produces that's called vitamin D binding protein. And I'm not going to use the acronyms, my beautiful translator, so it's easier to go across a language barrier. But I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, and if you want to have the actual studies on this, I will make this available for everyone. So who knows how you make vitamin D from light? So a few of you. Who's even thought about that? Yeah, it is highly important. It is highly important. And you can take, there's supplements out there, we get some vitamin D from different foods. But I want us to think about something, and I've said this for a few years now, and I'm finding it's even more true. Is your biological system is unique. So you and you and you and you and you, if we were to take a hormone or a vitamin D that we make from our body, and we were to analyze them in a lab, there would be different genetic signatures on each one of them, specifically for you. So in other words, if I was to take your vitamin D from your body and put it into my body, I would have an immunological or histamine reaction to it because it would not be genetically fit for me. Do you understand? This is real. And so why you making your own is so incredibly important for your health. I'm going to say that again. You making your own vitamin D is absolutely critical for your health. And I know I'm going to get some questions like, Dr. Matt, my vitamin D levels won't go up, etc. We'll get to that. I'm going to give you the reasons why. Okay? So the vitamin D binding protein is an absolutely essential function in your body. And basically what this does, this vitamin D binding protein belongs to an albumin gene in the family, or gene family, and together this basically makes a chemical binding protein that takes the vitamin D or cholecalciferol, D1, D2, D3, and it binds it so that it can move it out of the tissue and into the bloodstream. you understand how important that is? And when it's able to move out of the tissue, because when light hits the skin, there is a whole process that happens in order for you to make vitamin D. And during that process, you have to have a functioning vitamin D binding protein to bring it out of that and into the bloodstream. Now, on the other side of it, I'm going to give you a great teaching here. What takes vitamin D out of the bloodstream and into the cell? Who knows? Oh, somebody raise their hand, please. Dr. Eric? No. Dr. Eric, do you know? Putting you on the spot. Insulin. Insulin. Who knew that? What is insulin's job? We always think of sugar. We think of sugar. It takes nutrients. It takes nutrients, and it shuttles into cells. So what happens if your pancreas isn't working? What happens if you're very insulin sensitive? What happens to all the nutrients that are wonderfully in your blood? Well, they stay there. They stay there. Why is it that diabetics starve to death? Would you starve to death if you just didn't get sugar? Yeah, you would, slowly. But you really starve to death if you don't get sugar, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and light. Light. Do you understand? So this vitamin D binding protein has a beautiful pathway, and it helps us to create, well, this is what it kind of looks like. This is what I love geometry, I love shapes, so I just thought that was pretty cool looking. That's what it kind of relatively looks like. I know, I'm different. It helps basically to do something with the immune system also, which is highly important for life. So a GCMAF, I apologize, our translators. This stands for a protein-derived macrophage activating factor, and that's a mouthful. It is a protein produced by the modification of the vitamin D binding protein. So who's had what I call of a failure of your immune system to respond to the environment? Basically, you get a cold or a flu. Who's had one? Right? So supposedly we have seasons for this overabundance of bacteria and viruses, correct? I mean, I love that. I love that they have seasons. I mean, they must take a vacation at some point, I guess. These little viruses and bacteria is going, let's go to Cabo. It doesn't really work that way. So I love that we say that we have cold and flu season. But let's think about that for a moment. If light is essential, if light is an essential nutrient, and we go into winter months, what happens to our light source? Decreases, right? So your availability to this light source becomes less frequent, correct? So in theory, if you're not getting the proper amount of light to make your vitamin D, and you're not making certain activating proteins that are associated with light, like your vitamin D binding protein, and then you have a protein-derived macrophage activating factor, which biochemically results from the sequential deglycylation of vitamin D binding protein, which is made from it, which is naturally promoted by lymphocytes, B and T cells. The resulting protein may be a macrophage activating factor, which basically, I'm going to just summarize this, gets your little macrophages, which are these little Pac-Men, inside your body that eat up bacteria and virus. And when they do that, when they're allowed to actually engulf a bacteria and virus, your innate immune system now knows exactly what this is, and it sends that information back to your body and says, okay, we just ate this type of bacteria. This is how we're going to fight it. This is what we need to be able to create an immune response to it and keep yourself healthy. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is kind of how it works. So you have a virus or even cancers or bacteria, and you have basically what we call this innate immune system that kind of goes in like this circular formation. So what I'm showing you here is there are supplements that you can take that actually can give you that macrophage factor. Because there are some people's immune systems that are so low, their nutrients are so low, they haven't been exposed to light, that sometimes this is an important thing to do for these people that are just so below what I call the health line, that in order to bring them above it, we have to do some extra things. But this all begins with light. So you have bacteria, you have cancers, you have viruses, and you have this beautiful macrophage factors that come in, they eat up these things, they create this wonderful immune response, and you are able to fight these things when they come into contact with your immune system much, much, much better. Okay? Simple. So immunotherapy has been around for years in many types of cancer therapies. Recently, cancer immunotherapy has focused on mechanisms which can enhance the development of cell-mediated immunity, kind of what we're just talking about, okay? So when your macrophages are able to engulf something, they're able to let that information be known. This is how we're going to fight this thing. This is what we need, etc. Anti-cancer medications are administered to inhibit immunosuppressive factors such as a Naegeli's enzyme. There's enzymes that are secreted in our bodies that can kind of inhibit our immune system. But usually we find that is because there are certain things in the body, mainly your essential nutrients, are below that level, okay? And the anti-neoplastic medications that we use or can also enhance immune cell activity against tumors. Such medications show great potential in cancer immunotherapy using natural human mechanisms against neoplasms. So basically that's saying that we're already wired to fight everything, most everything. Do you know how many times all of you have probably had cancer and you've gotten rid of it? I mean, how many times have you all had a cold and you've gotten over it? How many times have you had a flu and you've gotten over it? And I'm going to bring something up. It's a hot topic. How many got measles here? And you didn't die? What? How many of you had chicken pox and you didn't die? My God. My God. That's amazing. How did you do it? How did you do it? So, the benefits of phototherapy and ultrasound therapy or sound therapy. So the Blu Room, we have a couple of different things going, well, we have many different things going on at one time. But we have light, we have sound, we have geometry, and we have some other things. But I won't talk about them right now. But how important is sound? Yeah. Where are my gardeners here? Gardeners. Who talks to their plants? Yeah. Why do you talk to your plants? They do listen. They do listen. Yeah. Who plays music for their plants? I do. Yeah. So sound for you is a highly effective treatment for many, many things. It's another frequency. It's another array of frequency that permeates the cells. It goes into the body. Your body's able to hold those frequencies, and you can elicit a response. So how many of us have had an emotional response from hearing a song? Why? Why does that happen? Memories, thoughts. But there's something deeper, isn't there? Now, music can empower you, can make you feel alive, make you feel sad, make you feel in love, can make you feel rage. How is music that powerful? Or is it the music? Or is it something else associated with the music? Frequency. It's frequency. Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about a cell here, and this study was done, this is an interesting study, this was done with red light. And if you look at the Hertzian table, we know that red light is down here. It's Hertzian, it's one of the lowest frequencies. And there are some medical benefits, but this is a really interesting study I looked at years ago. And basically it talks about there are synthesizers that are non-toxic and safe to use repeatedly. There is no dose limitation. They found that basically sound and light therapy, there was no limitation to the frequency of it. They didn't find it was doing anything but helping. So the more you go to the Blue Room, this is a kind of a great baseline study. It's going to help you more, okay? The treatment is targeted for a tumor with minimal effect on healthy tissue. So they also found that using sound therapy and light therapy did target cells that weren't supposed to be in the body. It was very interesting. And also, they found that it did not suppress any immune function. In fact, they found that it brought your immune function up. Now, who spent a day at the beach before here? Yeah, I recommend everybody does. You get a chance, go to the beach. Now, what always makes the beach better? Well, sun, yes. And we can throw pina colada in there or a beer if you want. But music absolutely always makes the beach better. I mean, who's always appreciative when you hear really good music and when you're at the beach? Yeah, it just kind of enhances it. But there's also a natural music that is the earth. Like, how calming is the sound of the surf? And then you throw the wind and birds and even the low hum of people you love talking. Do you understand? There's this frequency there. Now, I like to call it, for lack of better terms, it's just God's love. It's that frequency of love. It's that frequency of freedom. It's that frequency of hell. It's that frequency of life. It's life. So in a nutshell, this study was really interesting. And this was done by a very allopathic side that I think they were very surprised by this. They even said it had vaccine-like responses from immunogenic cancer cell necrosis and cancer immune response. So they said this was like a vaccine to help you fight off these things. So light therapy and sound therapy, they said it was amazing what it did. It gave your body a way to start to really fight some of these things that we see that are very rampant in our world today. You know, and here's the thing about cancer. How many of us have had cancer or known somebody who's had cancer? Yeah, it really is that rampant. So when we get into the whole understanding of what this is, we need to go back to the basics. The basics. It's really important. I think in my life, this is what I'm really understanding, is mastery of the basics is the only way you are going to be able to become more advanced as you move on through your life. The greatest athletes that I know, the greatest at any trade that I know, you know what they all have one thing in common? They are masters of the basics. They are masters of the basics. So the basics for you are every day those 90 essential nutrients and light. Okay? Every day. So this is a really cool way to understand how, from light, you're able to produce vitamin D. So this is a really nice little skin cell here, and we've got some light, the UVB, which is the best for producing vitamin D, which is one reason why we have it in the Blue Room. You get these wonderful little rays. The liver is able to use some of its enzymes there. Goes through into these wonderful cells. Here's that little vitamin D binding protein. It's able to bring it out, bring it into the bloodstream. Now, you have to have a healthy liver, you have to have healthy kidneys, and you have to have, one thing that's missing on here, you have to have a healthy pancreas in order to absorb anything. Now, who has heard that sugar will compete with vitamin C to be shuttled from insulin into a cell? Who's heard that? Dr. Eric has, good. Yeah, it's truth. It's really true. So if you have vitamin C and you have high amounts of processed sugar with this vitamin C, you're going to have a competing two molecules to be uptake by that insulin. And you don't want your pancreas secreting insulin all day long. That's unhealthy. You want it only to be when you eat something, you want to have a nice shot of insulin, you want it to be able to take all those nutrients, and all of those nutrients are now shuttled through that insulin carrier. I want you to think of like it's a little bus. You guys remember Gladys? Remember Gladys? Gladys doing this thing? Gladys is that cell. We are all just the big conglomerations of cells: hair cells, skin cells, eye cells, heart cells, liver cells, stomach cells, muscle cells, skin cells, everything. You're just a bunch of Gladyses that need nutrients. But if you can't get nutrients into the cell, you can't detoxify, you can't have those cells reproduce, so you're left with toxic and sick cells. Do you understand? Okay. So we're going to play a little video.
Warrior Mode, the pharmaceutical crime family and their hit squads. Look it up. So all the holistic doctors who found that vaccines had cancer enzymes in them, they've all been found dead. Look it up. Cause of death in all cases? Said to be suicide. Look it up. Just about all these doctors had been researchers working on a breakthrough cure for cancer before their untimely deaths. Look it up. It's believed that the cancer cure they were working on is called GCMAF, which actually gives the body the power to cure itself. Look it up. As of this video, more than 90 holistic doctors have been murdered in this country, and the excuse given is that they committed suicide. Look it up. One black woman holistic doctor in upstate New York was threatened by the pharmaceutical company to the point where her life was in danger. It got so bad for her that she had to leave the United States and go into hiding over in Panama. Over 90 holistic doctors dead. You think the pharmaceutical companies don't have a hit squad? You better look them up.
Yeah. So who knows what's going on right now in our beautiful country, in our government? There's a change, isn't there? Yeah, there's a change coming. You know, being a warrior myself, we're at war. You better get that right now. And I pride myself that I have the backing of the greatest warriors on this planet, right here. I'm looking at all of you. The school, these doctors out here, and we're fighting for truth. Jay-Z, she is one of the greatest warriors that have ever been. Absolutely. Thank you. Years ago, when I started to speak out about the truth, vaccines, different things like this, I was threatened. I'd been threatened many times. I've had my license tried to be taken away. I've had legal battles. I've had all of these different things simply for talking about the truth. Am I going to stop? No. Damn right I won't. And the reason why is because you got to keep fighting. You know when you lose is when you stop fighting. That's when you lose. Now, I know there have been a lot of attacks for a lot of different reasons on a lot of different medical groups, and I have Dr. Eric's eyes are about this big right now. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're coming into the light here. And here's the thing. If you don't stand up to evil, who will? Who's going to? And if you see something that is evil, and you turn your back and you walk away, you are an accomplice to that. Do you understand? That is the truth. I'm throwing the gauntlet down here, people. And I have been. Jay-Z did a long time ago. And all of you who come to this school, you know. You come to this school, you start learning about truth, you get ostracized by family, you get ostracized by people you thought loved you, but really, you just want the truth. You just want to be out there and make a difference. You want the good, you want the right, you want the healthy. And what kind of world do we live in if you have to fight just to be healthy? You have to fight just to get the truth about what is right about health. I don't want to live in that world, and I don't want my children to grow up in that world. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I appreciate all of you coming here because you're all part of this too. It's pretty cool to me. Thank you. So, Dr. Anna has been doing some great work with peptides in combination with the Blu Room. And a peptide is basically a conglomeration of this beautiful mixture of amino acids. And these amino acids have this response in the body. So who's heard of serotonin? And do you know what serotonin does in the body? Serotonin is basically a peptide. It's a neurotransmitter as well. It elicits a response in the brain. So in the same category, that's what these things do. And I'm not going to read through all of this, but what I am going to do is leave some of these things here for you all to do research with so that you have some beautiful things in your little home doctor kit that you can give yourself or apply to yourself or come see Dr. Anna or come see Dr. Eric or give me an email and we can try to straighten you out to help you find that health. Now, there has been I want you guys to all write this down. There's been a really great guy by the name of Ben Greenfield. He's a really cool, he's not a doctor. He's just a gentleman who really needed to find a way to heal his body. And he went out and did all of this great research on peptides. Now, there's a ton of people out there that have done that. I've been using different peptides in my practice for a number of years. It's never been at the level it is now. Thank goodness for Jay-Z and Dr. Anna. All of these things are really starting to fall into place, and we're able to put these in an order to best help everybody out to find some healing in their body. Now, with that being said, this doesn't stop you from getting those 90 essential nutrients every day and light, okay? These are just some wonderful things to help boost that healing factor. And like I said, if you've been below that margin for a number of years, these are some of the best ways that I know to start eliciting a healing response in the body to kind of help get you back up there. Because sometimes it does take time in order for your body to assimilate and start to use those nutrients if you have not been using them for most of your life, okay? So TB500 is based on the thymosin beta-4. Who's heard of the thymus gland? Yeah. We have a wonderful gland that sits in about in the middle here. And as we're growing up, that's the gland that helps to identify certain attackers. So viruses, bacteria, environmental toxins, et cetera, et cetera. And so this organ, this gland, really has a highly important function. And I'm going to give a piece here. When you try to trick the body into immunity, through vaccinations, through environmental toxins, through different things like that, and you take out the natural way that our body has learned to adapt an immune system, you wreak havoc on a number of different things. And one of the ways is that when you directly inject a virus or bacteria into the bloodstream, or even through intramuscular, you are taking a system out that has been there since the beginning of our development, that has been able to write a plan of immune action for your body. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these thymosin, these group of peptides, are really immunoenhancers, but this is a really neat one. I use this one myself. It has the ability to help repair muscle tissue like you wouldn't believe. It really is an amazing thing. It can repair cardiac tissue. It can repair even the integumentuma, the inside of the artery itself, which is like a muscle, smooth muscle, striated muscle. And it has a really neat neuroregenerative factor. So this is something for everyone to look up. This is really a cool thing. So TB500, write it down, do some time, put your due diligence in, look it up. Yeah, I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to save everybody. So these thiamine peptides, there's many of them. There's a basic thiamine, there's TB500, there's a few other ones, but they really do a great job also, like we said, with the immune system. So who's heard of lymphocyte T and B cells? Hope everybody has. Okay. Why are those important? I heard it. Well, yeah. It helps regulate that function of you identifying viruses, bacteria, toxins, things like that. And your lymph system is what? Your lymphatic system. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's kind of like your janitorial system of your body. It takes all the sludge and moves it out through this system. And these peptides are really amazing what they can do for the lymphatic system. I'm going to share a quick story. I had a patient that came in with swollen lymph nodes with almost 90% of her body. I mean, highly sick person. There was cancer present. Lymphoma was one of them. And already this patient had had some multiple surgeries to remove some large nodes and just didn't have what we in the medical profession said with time to do anything else. So she was knocking on death's door. And I get a lot of patients like that. And so we decided the best thing we could do was do Blu Room treatments. We did 3 or 4 Blu Room treatments a day, depending on what she could handle. We put her on high amounts of nutrients, IV nutrients every day. And we treated her with thiamine peptides. And what we started to notice within the first few days is the circumference of her lymph nodes started to decrease dramatically. She had especially one in her axillary region under her armpit that was the size of a grapefruit. And it actually decreased within a few days to the size of a golf ball. And now I don't remember, but I know it's gone quite smaller. But my point is that these are a wonderful way to help regulate your immune system, help to get it to start to function properly, and also heal your body to heal. Okay? So this is a great one. Who knows what angiogenesis is? This is a really important one. I'm going to read this. Angiogenesis. Docs, anybody? Somebody yell it out. Help me. You don't know? Dr. Eric, what is angiogenesis? Blood vessels. Are those kind of important? Yeah. Who has varicose veins? Yeah. Who has what we call little spotty venous tissue around their body? Yeah. Yeah. You know, your arterial system, your venous system, they go through a lot. They work hard. You know, they have all of that wonderful blood material pumping through them all day long. We kind of take it for granted how miraculous the system is, that it's constantly working for us, constantly trying to maintain what we call homeostasis, which is a level of health for you, whether you decide to guzzle a gallon of gasoline or what I call vodka, or you are eating junk food, or you're in a high amount of stress. This body is constantly trying to regenerate and maintain health for you, no matter what we do. I mean, who's abused their body here? I have. I have. And we're still alive. I mean, we're still breathing, we're still moving, our heart's still going, our brain's still functioning. I mean, who has really I want us to be honest here. Who has gone days with hardly eating anything, drinking caffeine, trying to get a project done, or doing what you're doing on a daily basis? Yeah. I mean, who's been in the military here? I mean, we have a joke where you double up caffeine like you wouldn't believe, and you smoke cigarettes and you keep going. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, we've all been there. And somehow our bodies, we still function. We're still able to have a level of health. We're still able to, like, I'm going. It's really an amazing thing. And so these peptides, along with the Blue Room, and I've seen this with my own eyes, when you combine the two and you're getting those essential nutrients, I truly believe there isn't anything that your body can't heal from, especially if you are using this. We talked about epigenetics. You're using this to help facilitate that going through. So do you guys write these down? Thymosin beta 4? Okay, wonderful. So this is near and dear to my heart, no pun intended. Cardiac repair is something that is very important, and I'm going to talk about the emotional aspect of this as well. Who's ever heard that somebody say they died of a broken heart? Yeah. There is such a thing as the emotional components of our daily existence can be taxing, to say the least. Is that correct? Yeah. We live in such a tumultuous planet, but there's beauty everywhere. But we tend to be sometimes so caught up in everything that can go wrong that it's difficult for us to see anything that's going right. I mean, who can agree with me on that in a moment? We can't. Now, is that our perception? Absolutely is. But when you are in that, how difficult is it to see the other side of that? Very. It is, truly. You know, I'm coming from somebody who not only has experienced this, I'm coming from a doctor that have seen this in patients where you have high anxiety. Who's experienced anxiety? Who's experienced anxiety where you thought you were having a heart attack and you're going to die? Only to find out your blood pressure is perfect, your sinus rhythm is perfect, you know, there's nothing wrong, your blood work looks great. It's true, it happens. And I'm seeing this more and more in young people. I'm seeing this more and more in people in their 20s, even younger. So what's interesting about this thymosin beta 4 and cardiac repair is hypoxic heart disease is rampant. And hypoxic means lack of oxygen to tissue. Lack of oxygen to tissue. I'm going to stop us for a moment. Everyone take a second. Take a deep breath. You, everyone watching, take a deep breath. One more. Now, how many times a day are you doing that? Stop. How many times a day are you honestly doing that? Not enough. Yeah. Now, in physiology, in medicine, we know that we have other reasons for hypoxia, for other reasons for oxygen not getting to tissue. You can blame iron. We go back to the lack of something to bind hemoglobin to go into the bloodstream, etc. But it all has to get into your cells. Do you understand? We're going back to Gladys here. And oxygen is one of those essential nutrients. It really is. But if you aren't breathing in the first place, and you aren't allowing that breath to happen, what epigenetics are you creating? Are you turning on or off that hypoxia? Now, we know there's some other physiological reasons that can manifest that can contribute to this. But what's really cool about this thymosin beta 4 is that it can help with angiogenesis, which is the reconstruction of arterial walls, reconstruction of actual blood vessels, and can really help the body to get oxygen being delivered into different tissues, which in an oxygenated state cancer can exist. It can't. Okay? So it's something for you to think about and to understand. All right. So neuroprotective and neurorestorative effects of thymosin. We're going to talk about the brain for a moment. Who has had a head injury here? Okay, now I'm going to redefine this. Who has had a headache before? Yes. Now, how many of you are under the impression that a headache is normal? Well, I'm glad not many people. Now, how many of you know that a headache is not a Tylenol deficiency? You guys want to laugh, but it's really true. A headache is never normal. Headache is never normal. There is a reason you have a headache. It could be structural, could be vascular, could be toxic, could be that you are lacking nutrients, but it's absolutely never normal. Now, I want honesty here. How many of you are having headaches at least once a week? Okay, we need to figure out why. Now, here's the interesting thing that I find as a doctor. There are patients that they go decades with headaches. Decades. How many of you out there have had literally decades of an injury? Decades of an ailment? Now, let's ask this really honestly to ourselves. You don't have to tell me. Are you getting those 90 essential nutrients every day and light? That's for you to answer, okay? Now, here's the cool thing about this thymosin beta-4 and neuroprotective and neurorestorative effects of thymosin. It really does help. Now, who knows what a TBI is? Traumatic brain injury. Okay, now, this is something that's going to go near and dear to my heart. I think I had my first concussion when I was probably in my single digits of years. Now, I want us to stop and think about this for a moment. How many of us fell out of a tree? How many of us wiped out on a bicycle? How many of us had a sibling push us down the stairs? Okay, now, we need to really refocus and rethink about the way we look at traumatic brain injury. Now, I'm going to ask the other questions. How many of us played contact sports? How many have actually been in a fist fight? Those suck. Okay? Now, we think these things are everyday normal. If you've had a contusion or laceration caused by an abrupt blow to the head, you have most likely had a traumatic brain injury. Now, it's amazing, like I said earlier, your body functions. Your body functions. But what are we doing for these adolescents, these children that are playing these contact sports and that are having concussions from the time they get into these contact sports all the way through their adolescence? They continue to play these contact sports all the way up into adulthood. And what are we doing to help heal these people? There was a movie that Will Smith did not too long ago. It was taken out of the theaters because he did it about one doctor who was brave enough to talk about how brain injury has affected so many people and how it continues to affect these people, and it alters personality, it alters perception, and their quality of life is very low. Now, how many of us here have had car accidents? How many of us here have had really sore necks? Now, I want us to think about something. This is important. You have a beautiful brain suspended in this wonderful liquid inside this, what we call calvera, or inside the skull. And when you have whiplash, it's called acceleration-deceleration injury. Your head goes forward, the brain is designed to move. What stops the brain from moving? Your skull. Now, think about that for a moment. Okay? Now, how many of us did something besides Tylenol or ibuprofen to help manage the effects of those kind of an injury? You didn't know. That's the number one thing we do. You've got some inflammation. Here's this. You have pain? here's this. Now you have something else that you can put into your little case at home. You can come see Dr. Anna, come see Dr. Eric. Here's the thing I know about traumatic brain injury. They are quiet killers. They're what I call quiet killers. If you have repeatedly had those acceleration, deceleration, repeatedly bonked your head, repeatedly fallen off a saddle onto the ground, repeatedly have banged, certain things like this, I guarantee that there has been some damage. Look into it, let's get it fixed. This is a very important part of the body, okay? Moving. This is another one, there's called the C3 peptide. This is also for the spinal cord injuries. This goes along with discal injuries as well. And a lot of the fibrous material that goes around the spine. This is a great peptide for helping to heal this as well. I'm just trying to give you guys little golden nuggets that you can take and do some research on your own and look into it, because how many of us have back pain? Yeah, C3 peptide. Yeah. I think that there's a whole profession that just, deals with back pain. I've heard of it. I don't know. But this is a wonderful peptide that can really do some great things for helping these. Now, longevity is something that is important for all of us, or should be important for all of us. Your brain and your spinal cord are the first things that develop inside utero. It is the first thing. So your brain, the spinal cord, and all the other nerves that come off the body, that's the first thing. And then all the other tissue grows around it. So this is a wonderful peptide that can help restore some of those. It's basically food for your nerves. And so what we call phantom pain, ghost pain, all of those little things even can help with restless leg syndrome to a degree, as long as you're getting those essential nutrients in. So this is a great one for you to look into and ask questions about. Okay? Oh, here we go. So I'm going to take a moment, let everyone breathe, and we're going to go into another part of the lecture, and then I'm going to we're going to take a break and let Dr. Anna come up. But seeds are magical vessels of nature. They hold entire intelligence, blueprints of life, and represent the divine design within all things. They can lie dormant until conditions are right for them to burst into life, such as a beautiful metaphor for consciousness. I love that. I have this poster hanging up in my office as well. You were a seed at one time? You were part of a seed at one time? And you burst into life. And you are that expression of that life sitting here with me, viewing here with me. And we are all part of this grand creation that is us. We all share this. We're all in this together. It's something that's beautiful to me. I look at all of you and I look at this experience that we're having together. And I know, we're all meant to be here now, doing this now. Makes me happy. So I'm going to share this sloppy little design piece of paper. This is my musing. Everyone can see how crazy my mind is just on a little tiny paper. I drew this on a flight from South Africa, spending a tour there with Jay-Z and Ramtha, and it was such an incredible experience for me, being in South Africa anyways, getting to experience what we call the cradle of life, or where everyone wants to say life began, and looking to see how marvelous this part of this continent, this massive continent. I mean, does everyone understand how big Africa is? how glorious this continent is. I don't know why we are kind of led to believe other things, but you know you can fit the United States, Latin America, Central America, parts of Europe, and Canada all into Africa and still have room? Do you know that? Look it up. It's true. But I was there, and the people touched me so much. I had multiple experiences there, and we're on the flight back home, and I wanted to do whatever I could to help these people feed themselves. You know, in Latin America, where I grew up, food is abundant. I mean, there's piles of food. I mean, you go to the market, there's, piles of mangoes and bananas and fish and if you we have a saying, if you starve in Latin America, it's because you really don't want to eat. And I noticed that food was not as available as you would think. And I had to look at that for really what it was, social economic engineering. It's really the truth. Because it's not that there isn't beautiful soil, there isn't a way. But what there is a lack of teaching, there's a lack of knowledge being passed down, and there's different reasons for that disruption. So anyways, I was already thinking ahead, and I was thinking about the seed. So here's my little drawing. You guys don't make fun of my drawings, they're terrible. But I knew that the seed had this expression of life. This is DNA. And I knew within this seed held this secret of DNA and this expression of life. And that's really what it is. When you eat a piece of fruit, there are what inside of the fruit, or should be? Seeds. Now, what a gift. I'm going to explain this. You eat the fruit. It gives you the gift of being able to grow more. Do you understand how beautiful that is? I mean, that's God basically saying, I'm going to feed you, and I'm going to allow you to be able to feed yourself for as long as you want to. Here you go. And that expression is all there. Just like us, the expression of God is locked here in this seed. And I knew to unlock this, you needed minerals in the dirt, you needed the vitamins, you needed this, but you also needed light, you needed the sun. And I knew from the seed could grow a tree, and the tree could produce fruit. But I also knew that in that DNA, in that seed, there was the ability to have the fruit as well. Do you understand? Not just to grow the tree, but to grow the fruit. And this part is what intrigued me the most. And not that the tree isn't beautiful, but sometimes there's just not the ability to sustain that in certain parts of the world. So getting the food out to people was what I kept thinking over. And I knew frequency, vibration, is what you needed in order to elicit that response and to get the fruit. So I came up with a few things, put my mind to work. I wanted to be able to do something. And lo and behold, I think a few months after this, the Blu Room came into my life. And so I've kind of put this on the back burner, and with Jay-Z and I just jumped into that project, and you all know the history from there. And now, what we have is what I call the grow house. Yeah. And this is based off of Blu Room technology, and using that technology, anyone, anywhere in the world will be able to grow whatever they'd like. Whatever they would like. It's completely self-ventilated, has a lighting system, you can get it in different sizes, and we can customize it just for the environment, wherever it is, from the desert to the snowy tundras, to tropical, wherever you'd like, in order for you to be able to grow food that comes from every continent on the planet. So in other words, you get the largest variety of food to be grown in any one system. So not only can you grow citrus, but you can grow coffee, you can grow apples, you can grow mangoes, every type of banana, pineapple, cabbage, lettuce, carrots, beets, whatever you'd like, all in one system. Okay. Yeah. Yep, that's it. Now, remember, this is Blue Room technology. This is all based on light medicine. So when you eat food, according to physics, it's energy, correct? It's light. So you're consuming light. So when this came into my preview, this came into my reality, the Blue Room, and I was able to put these pictures together. I said, what better frequency to grow your food in than the frequency of life, which is the Blue Room. And so you can see the design is very strong, can handle gale force winds, heavy snows, rainstorms, hailstorms. We built it to last. And one thing that's really important to me, it shields you from environmental toxins. So who's heard of chemtrails? Or I should say, who's seen the damn chemtrails? So one thing that would drive me crazy, as you know, everybody knows that my father and I, we have an agriculture business, and so we grow things. And one thing I kept finding for the last few years is our fields would be covered with this material, this matter. And I got so fed up with it, I finally decided to send lab samples off. I wanted to find out what was in it. Viruses, bacteria, aluminum, I mean, you name it, awful things, mercury even. And so if you're growing outdoors where it's there are heavy chemtrails, you are going to be growing in that matter. It's something for all of us to think about. And I know growing outdoors is what we want to do. But unfortunately, in this day and age, you have to contend with heavy amounts of environmental pollutions. And so this is why I came up with this system also, is that it keeps your food protected from those environmental toxins. Okay? Now, geometry, like I said, I love it, the shape of things. And this, when I started to get into looking at what my mind had started to want to create, I couldn't help notice it looks a lot like different cells that I've seen. And there we go. Who remembers this? Faster than, Paulina found this, and I couldn't help it. Thank you, Paulina, by the way. Faster than every 1/40th of a second, the microtubules of a natural cell fluctuate in and out of geometric resonance, which means they move, they breathe, creating our physical space, body, mind, to align harmonically with non-local singularity, giving us an experience of the present moment now. This is a picture of a microtubule's geometry, our quantum consciousness. So it looks a little bit like the Blue Room and the Grow House, doesn't it? Yeah. Its own consciousness, its own life, its own frequency. So where better to heal or to grow your food? And I love this quote from Ramtha. Thank you, Ramtha. Prosperity is the only side effect of a happy entity who allows a creative mind to be born. One sweet morn when you arise and realize you may have anything you wish, for it all belongs to you. Thank you, Ramtha. So I'm going to let you watch a little video.
Hi everybody, welcome to Hawaii Aloha. My name is Dr. Matthew Martinez, and today I'm going to introduce you to the Blue Room system. It's a system that I've been developing over the past 5 years since Blue Room technology came into my life. As most of you know, I am a doctor, I treat patients, but also one of my passions and one of my family traits or businesses have been agriculture. From my earliest memories, I remember riding a donkey through the fields of sugar cane in Pachitanga, Ecuador. So today I'm going to introduce you to a system that will allow you to grow anything you like, from cannabis products, citrus fruits, to vegetables, to taro, potatoes, to apples, to peaches, to pears, anything you would like, on any climate you would like because of this technology. So I'm going to introduce you to this today. Let's go. As you can see right away, there are my bananas. Those bananas are all organic, no chemicals, grown right here in the grow house. As you can see, there's citrus fruit right next to it, and they were grown right from the ground. And as we walk through this little trail, I've got a stone path, and this is optional. You can have dirt, you can have stone, but as you can see, everything is lush and full. Everything is grown with love, grown with music, my plumeria, my favorite. These plants have never seen a chemical. These plants have never seen compost. I know, hard to believe, but it's true. You can use compost, you can use whatever you like to help, but the whole premise of the grow house is that it gives the seed life. The light, the structure, the sacred geometry of the grow house, all of it is combined to grow the best and most high quality produce that is available. And yes, even coffee grows at low altitude in the grow house. As you can see also, there is light coming through. All the time you can have light on if you wish inside the grow house, depending on the crops you want. When you buy a produce in the grocery store, it is grown in mass-produced greenhouses or fields, which are laden with chemicals, laden with plastic. In the grow house, you don't need any of it. We use the latest technology of UVB and infrared lighting, as well as grow lighting, to produce the healthiest produce that is possible. And also there's a secret. There's secret in the sacred geometry. There's secret in the magnetic resonance that it comes from the earth. There was a study done at the University of Florida in the early 90s with magnetic resonance, where they put seedlings with magnets, and they found that it grew 30 to 40 times faster. Well, you have that inside the grow house and more, which yields the best organic, non-GMO, beautiful produce from your own grow house to your table. And if you ever notice with fruit and vegetables, there is a sacred geometry inside, just like there's a sacred geometry with the grow house. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to have a consult with you at any time. Here is our contact information. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in. I think we're going to take a short break, and then our wonderful Dr. Anna is going to come up and present. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of what she's done, and I'm so excited for her to share. And thank you. I love you all. I'll see you soon.